deprivations as well as poverty. These are as you see, these are small states, and also most of them are special category states. Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh fared worse on all indicators. Though Tamil Nadu, he is here, though Tamil Nadu ranked high on incidence of deprivations, Tamil Nadu has lowest incidence of deprivations. But its GSDP is middle, not that high, and as well as incidence of poverty also is middle. So on deprivations, Tamil Nadu is doing very well. Tamil Nadu in many sense very close to Kerala and in demographic transition and health transition, and it has a good public distribution system, and this because of that the deprivations are much less, and the Tamil Nadu may be a model competing with the Gujarat model for emulation. Bottom 6 states are again Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Madhya Pradesh. If we expand the list, Uttar Pradesh and Manipur figure in. Now let me go to the progress made. This is the level of well-being. Progress made during the reform period, post-reform period. Table 4 provides the ranking of the states on progress made in reducing income poverty, deprivation in the post-reform period, and combined ranking of the three. The following observations can be made. The ranking of states on the 3 indicators differed. In reducing malnutrition, Mizoram, Manipur, Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand and Maharashtra performed better in reducing malnutrition, because these are centrally, most of them are other than Maharashtra are special category states. I have in a seminar one scholar presented, Maharashtra made a considerable progress in reduction of malnutrition. We have not verified the validity. Considerable reduction in Maharashtra malnutrition levels are very high, but during the recent period they made some efforts, interventions. Because of interventions, malnutrition declined. In reducing educational deprivations, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Nagaland, Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu performed better. In reducing income poverty, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir performed better in the post-reform period. The top 5 states on composite ranking on improving well-being are Himachal Pradesh, the best state in improving the well-being in the post-reform period. Next, followed by Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand and Maharashtra. These are the best performing states in the post-reform period, when you look in a comprehensive manner, totality. The bottom 5 states are, I need not repeat, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh and Assam. Now I would like to make some observations on the quality of education and malnutrition. These are the 2 current concerns of India. Nobel laureate Timbergen, based on analysis of the factors underlying inequalities, observed that human capital is the key instrument for reducing inequalities in the process of development. Another Nobel laureate, Sir Arthur Lewis pointed out, education is not invented in order to enable men to produce more goods and services. The purpose of education is to enable to understand better the world in which they live, so that they may more fully experience their potential capacities. It is worth recalling words of Eliot. Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Wisdom is not knowledge. Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is knowledge we have lost in information? Information is knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom. Wisdom is what you use, how you use the knowledge for solving problems of the society or scientific problems. Are these objectives being fulfilled by the educational institutions in India. Over the last 60 years, there has been a significant expansion of higher education. The number of universities or deemed universities have increased from 30 to 500, and colleges from 750 to 24,000. See the expansion, massive expansion. However, the gross enrollment rate in higher education is very low, which is half of the world's average, gross enrollment rate. In higher education until 1999, both India and China had gross enrollment rate of 6%. China achieved 22%, while India lagged behind 12%. China achieved, this is what is the sad thing, that enrollment rate in the higher education is very low. The Kothari Commission way back in 1966 recommended for a public expenditure of 6% of GDP on education sector. Even after 45 years, it is only 3.5%. Now with the recent cut in the social sector, it will be still less. The quality of education imparted to students leaves much to be desired. For instance, around 2005, out of 6 lakh engineering graduates produced by the engineering colleges, a mere 1 lakh got employment through on-campus interviews. Another 2.5 lakh graduates managed to get jobs after some waiting, and rest are considered unemployable and end up in odd jobs. I may not be wrong if I say that the same thing may hold now. I know that there are some engineering graduates working in MGNRE schemes. It's a sad thing actually. And some are bus conductors working as. Most of the IT companies are compelled to recruit diploma holders and graduates and subject them to rigorous training by incurring huge expenditure. There is also an associated problem of lack of quality teachers, as the market is driving out of some of the best talent from academic pursuits to IT industry and in search of greener pastures abroad. This will accentuate the problem for the next generation. I have also written on primary education. I have analyzed. There has been substantial progress in the reduction of illiteracy and improvement in school enrollment. While literacy rate did improve, the real challenge remains in retaining children in school until they attain education levels. Discontinuation of education even before reaching desirable level of education is very high. 73% of rural and 53% of urban ever enrolled persons aged 5 to 25 years discontinued before completing secondary education. The failure in the provision of public services, persisting inequalities in access to secondary education by gender and caste are the major causes underlying the school dropouts. It could also be due to high cost of education. In 2007-8, annual expenditure per child for secondary or higher secondary education was about 2,500 in government schools and 9,000 in private unaided schools. This could be much higher in corporate schools. Now, corporate schools admission, I am trying, my grandson wanted to return to India. I tried 6 lakhs per annum. How can one afford this school admission kid? And interstate variations in public expenditure on education were substantial. For instance, in 2004-5, that is the latest data available, the per person public expenditure on education in Bihar was 1/4 of that of Kerala. That's how this gives exclusion of some regions from progress, development. In Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand, it was less than half of that of of Kerala. The low public expenditure in the backward states could not be compensated by private expenditure. In 2007-8, NSS data gives per child household expenditure on education was significantly lower in Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Madhya Pradesh, and very high in Punjab, Haryana, and Kerala. A number of studies highlighted the poor quality of educational services in the government and local body schools in the country. This would have very adverse impact on educational attainments of majority of children, since 69% of the children are attending government and local body schools. Annual survey of education report showed the major problems in primary classes did have adequate ability to read, write, and above and solve arithmetic problems. Only for the annual survey of schools, a voluntary organization as Pratham has done, showed only 40% of class 3 children can read class 1 text. 26% of them could do subtraction. Plus the class 3 guys cannot read class 1 textbook. This is the sad state of affairs. This is a survey, made all India survey. You can notice that Maharashtra and Gujarat performed badly on social development on malnutrition. You can see that developed state. It is worth observing. The next thing, I will skip that. Yes, next. It is worth observing that a high percentage of households did not have toilet facility in Tamil Nadu. He is trying to help Tamil Nadu. It is worth observing that high percentage of households did not have toilet facility in Tamil Nadu, and high percentage of households did not have safe drinking water in Kerala. It looks some of the contributory factors of malnutrition are state specific. My paper gives elaborately the deficiencies of each state. I will only one point I would like to make is that nutritional status of children and adults in some of the middle income states such as Kerala and Tamil Nadu was better than higher income states such as Maharashtra and Gujarat. Tamil Nadu and Kerala doing very well. And northeastern states except Assam had better nutritional outcomes, had even outperformed Kerala. Access to forest food, good natural environment, better gender equality could be some of the factors that might have contributed to their better nutritional outcomes. Despite low per capita GSDP, northeastern states performed better also on human development indicators. There is one good news I must say. Newspaper has reported. I have not validation. I have not verified it, but rapid survey on children conducted by the Ministry of Women and Child Development has shown that the proportion of stunted children under the age of 5 has fallen from 48 in 2005-6 to 39, 2013-19. But we have to see rapid survey. It shows a substantial decline in malnutrition. And the number of breastfed children under the age of 6 has improved considerably. See, there are two factors that reduces malnutrition. One, the open defecation if you remove. Open defecation contributes to malnutrition in India. That contaminates water. The second one is breastfeeding is not there in India. Within a day, mother must feed the child. And breastfeeding under the age of 6 months is very important for nutrition. Now, only through advocacy you can do improvement on this issue. It is a cultural factor. Simple slogans will not solve the problem. Needless to say that educational attainments, health status, and the nutritional status of people of a country mutually influence each other and contribute to happiness. I would like to emphasize that there is a two-way link between social development and economic growth. Let me end my address by citing international experience relating to the theme of the seminar. The routes followed by some countries of the developing countries in Asia which experienced rapid reduction of poverty and improvement in human development are not unique. The routes are not unique, let me emphasize. For instance, China and South Korea experienced rapid decline in poverty and improvement in human development, but routes are different. One is the socialist, the other is free market. Why? The initial conditions for growth and poverty reduction were more favorable in China and South Korea than in India due to implementation of radical land reforms. In South Korea, America implemented the land reforms. Mobilization of adequate resources by the state for investment in physical infrastructure as well as human development. These were common elements in their efforts. That means social development is a common element for growth, whether it is a socialist country or a market-led economy. These were common elements in their efforts to achieve poverty reduction, though their ideologies and socio-political systems were different. In China, people capabilities were significantly improved through expanded health and education, development-oriented elite and strong government and its institutions even before reforms. China had a better ranking on human development and social development. Mao's period was contributed to expansion of human development and human progress. George Rosen, an American economist, spent a year in China. George Rosen, who also visited India also, observed that decentralization with devolution of control over economic issues, resources and revenues were a major factor behind economic growth and trading expansion during 80s of China. In China's development, small and medium enterprises played an important role in growth and employment. Though many components of reforms such as radical land reforms, debureaucratization and decentralization of development figured in successive 5 plans, India could not make much headway because of resistance of pressure groups. This is Professor Hanumantrau's assessment. Had radical land reforms were implemented soon after independence and required investments were made in human development and infrastructure, India could have achieved significantly improvement on development indicators. Many radical reforms are not politically feasible in India. However, there are some positive developments due to electoral process such as implementation of nationwide MGNREGA, food security, right to education, etc.